I was reading this morning about the poet Keats. I don't know an awful lot about Keats, I have to say, but the little bit I read about him had this idea that he referred to as negative capability. Or I should just say I'm back in Dartington, by the way, and that's the River Dart down there. It's very cold here this morning, but absolutely gorgeous. Anyhow, Keats, he had this idea of negative capability, which I don't fully understand yet. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. But the way I'm kind of understanding it, and I'll refer back to Keats in a minute, is that it's really in relation to problems and mysteries and the unknown. And what he seems to be saying is that we are quite often, if not constantly, confronted by problems of different degrees and the unknown. You know, and sometimes those problems are relatively straightforward. It's just something we don't know about, and we have to advance our knowledge. We have to step forward into a piece of knowing that contains that knowledge. So we stand a particular place in relation to some knowledge that's just outside of our grasp. But at other times, that knowledge seems more profound. We don't know how to frame the kind of question that would answer that, address that knowledge. Or we can't even think about it properly sometimes. Some unknowns seem so incomprehensible that they're beyond even the idea of a question. And I think sometimes we might refer to that as a mystery. I'm not altogether happy with the term mystery. Just let those cars go past. But I think it's relatively appropriate in that case that we sometimes are confronted by problems. And not confronted, sometimes we actively walk towards problems. We seem to have that in our nature. We seem to actively seek out problems which are beyond our grasp. And as I say, some of those are so incomprehensible that they take on the quality of a mystery. And I think I've mentioned consciousness before being a bit like that. For some people at least, as a group of scientists and philosophers working in consciousness research, who are referred to as the mysterions because they have that attitude. They take the idea that the limitations of our consciousness prevent it from ever fully comprehending itself. And I can see some validity in that. So, let me just rethink that. So we've got this tendency to seek out problems, natural born troublemakers, I think I've referred to it elsewhere. It's part of our being to do that. And some of those problems are so vast that we are kind of gobsmacked in the face of them and rendered mute by the sheer mystery of it. And Keats calls this, or Keats identifies one response to that as what he calls negative capability. And he talks about this in a letter, I think, to one of his brothers. He's writing about somebody he knows, a man he knows. And he says that this chap, I can't remember the exact phrase he uses, but he says this chap that he knows kind of regards it as an attack upon his ego if he doesn't have an opinion on everything. And I've known people like that. Some people just have to have an opinion on everything. The idea of standing mute in the face of the unknown and not having an opinion, just being quiet in the face of the unknown or the face of something that you're not quite certain about. Some people seem to regard that as a kind of threat. A threat to their ego, and that's what he's talking about when he's in this letter to his brother. He says that some people do that. They regard a threat to they regard an irresponsiveness in the face of the unknown as a threat to ego, and counter that by having an opinion on absolutely everything. I suppose that's one response to standing in the face of the unknown. Another response, I guess, which I've spoken about before, is to get caught up in the sheer kind of embodied gobsmacking nature of it. You just get caught up in the feeling that there's something immense and empty in front of you, like standing on the lip of the Grand Canyon. In which case you might get caught up in that, in the nothingness of it, and adopt some kind of prayerful or worshipful or awestruck relationship to it, which I think is equally interesting. You know, one seems to be identifying and forming an identity out of a series of answers to questions, and another seems to be identifying with forming an identity out of unanswerability, and you might call that God or something, I guess, I don't know. But what Keats is talking about, I think, in negative capability, is neither of those. He's just talking about a kind of pause and a kind of quietude, a kind of listening, so that there's neither the ego reinforcing closure of expressing opinions and asserting knowledge, nor is the ego, this kind of ego dissolving, but God creating awesomeness of worshipping the unknown for its own sake. Two of my friends on bikes.